Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we hold real conversations with community that need to be heard. On this episode, you will hear from Tenneh. Tenneh is so New York, there is absolutely nowhere in this world she'd rather be. If it's concrete jungles where dreams are made of, Tenneh is definitely living the dream. Diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 20 years young, definitely changed the trajectory for her on many things, but it has not stopped her from experiencing life, love, and her continued pursuit of happiness. It's been 5 long years since her diagnosis, and since that time she's lived through many trials, including the passing of her forever bestie, her father. And as you said, Tenneh, he too has peace knowing you're at peace. Tenneh is a Brooklyn-based art director, filmmaker, and photographer, and she reps it all so well and to the fullest. If you yell, "Is Brooklyn in the house?" it's guaranteed she will say, without a doubt, diabetes will never stop her from doing the things she loves. Tenneh, if no one has told you recently, I want this to be a forever reminder that the things you are doing today are laying the groundwork for current and the future for little black and brown boys and girls to equally know that nothing will impede their progress because they too will take on and over the world. Thank you, Tenneh, from New York with love.
Hi, so my name is Tenneh and I am 25 years old. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I have been living with type 1 diabetes for the last 5 years.
25 from Brooklyn. You've been in Brooklyn your entire lifetime, or
I've never lived anywhere else.
never lived anywhere else?
It's the greatest city in the world. So I've only been to one city that could compare to New York, and that's London. Other than that, like I would not leave New York for any other city.
Mhm. Look, not even for like the dream job of a lifetime.
It gotta be remote. Like
Uh,
there's just like a beauty and convenience that you get with living in New York. Like I live next to a 24-hour corner store. Like if it's like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning and I want a sandwich, I can get it from the corner store. I can't get that in like some random state in like, I don't know, city in California or South Carolina. Like it's just a convenience that I appreciate about New York.
See, I interviewed a young lady from LA the other day, and she told me because she actually went to NYU for grad school.
Mhm.
And she said she came back to LA because she was like, there's nothing like LA. She said, I can go to the store 24 hours and get whatever I want. And I was like, wow. But I guess it's just holds true to heart. Like what you love is what you love. I remember being a kid taking trips to New York with my friends.
Mhm.
Like we were teenagers. Someone had a car, whether they borrowed it from someone or whatever, and we would take trips to New York. And I remember being in Brooklyn a lot, like Flatbush,
Yeah,
Crown
that's where I grew up. I grew up in Flatbush and Crown Heights.
Crown Heights. But there was a guy who sold jewelry named Yeri. I don't
Mhm.
know if he's still around, but this was many years ago. And we would go there and buy like gold chains and stuff. Like we were kids, like not knowing, we were just following a bling trend at the time. Tell me a little bit about life growing up in Brooklyn for you in general.
So I grew up in Flatbush, and I'm first generation American. Well, I am from Liberia, and so growing up in Flatbush, it was like I wasn't really around Africans. Like we had like African hair braiding shop. We had like this one like African market that was like up the block from my house that my mom would frequently go to. But like separate from like the Liberian culture, I grew up around a lot of Caribbean culture. My babysitter was Jamaican. Like my mom always says, my first solid meal was jerk chicken.
Hmm.
It's like she came to pick me up from my babysitter, and my babysitter gave me jerk chicken, and she's like, I guess she likes jerk chicken. So like culturally, I grew up going to all the like Labor Day parades, the West Indian parades, the carnivals. I grew up listening to the music. So like that was like the environment of Flatbush. Like even if you weren't Caribbean, if you lived in Flatbush or you were around Crown Heights, because I went to school in Crown Heights, it was like your second culture, and we just collectively all accepted it. It was like a melting pot of the diaspora. So that was amazing. Grew up very like independent as far as like traveling. I was taking the bus by myself at like 7 years old. Um, Taking the train. Like whenever I tell people that now who don't live in New York, they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, that's regular. Like in New York, like you're taking the MTA at a very young age, and you just trusted that you're gonna be good. You just My parents always told me sit near the bus driver, always sit in the front, always say good morning to the bus driver, and you're good. So it was amazing. Middle school, also went to school in Crown Heights as well, like in the heart of Crown Heights and Flatbush. And then when I got to high school, I was like, I want to leave Brooklyn. Like high school was my moment to like branch out of Brooklyn, because I just felt like it was just too familiar to me. I was going to school with the same people since kindergarten, because a lot of people in my elementary school went to my middle school, and I just wanted a fresh start. I wanted a new start. I wanted to be in a place where no one knew my name, and I got to reintroduce myself, especially dealing with people mispronouncing my name my whole life. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to a school where I'm not gonna allow people to mispronounce my name, and I'm gonna be able to, you know, be myself, because growing up in the neighborhood or in the environment I was in, a lot of the creative things I was into, I would get bullied for it, or like things that were like outside of the box, people would, judge me for it. Like, for example, I liked Justin Bieber when I was a child. A lot of kids in my school didn't like Justin Bieber. Like, they loved hip hop music, and I liked hip hop to an extent, but like I wasn't periodically listening to like the popular songs and stuff like that. I was listening to Justin Bieber, I was listening to One Direction, and when people heard, they're like, ew, you like that white people stuff. And I was like, I want to be in an environment where I can like these things and feel very comfortable and meet people where they are that are into the same things as me. I had a friend who I still talk to her every now and then to this day. Her name is Destiny. She was one of those people who I could lean into to talk about those things that weren't like culturally normal. So by the time I got to high school, I went to high school in Times Square. So it was different. It was a culture shock for me, because I was actually friends with people who didn't live in Brooklyn. Most people I was friends with didn't live in Brooklyn. It was very strange. And if they lived in Brooklyn, they were on the other side of Brooklyn. So that was something that I had to get adjusted to. And that's how I met my best friend. She lived in Brooklyn, but she lived in Bushwick. So completely other side of where I live. But it was still exciting to learn for them and just hear different types of New York accents and learn different parts of New York culture. And I would say that framed me to the person that I am today. And I'm very appreciative of it.
So you went to high school in Times Square. So you even traveled more as you got older with
Yeah.
zero fear. And you mentioned something, Justin Bieber. Did you go to see that original Justin Bieber concert in the movie theater when it came
Oh,
out?
yes. Yes.
Um, what year was that?
2010 or 11.
Yeah. You know how I
Yes.
recall? I have two nieces that are 25 and 21.
Mhm.
And these are my sister's kids, and I remember taking them to the theater to see that. And I remember even at the end of the movie, it was like, and it was in a 3D theater. There was like uh paper mache going up in the air at the end. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. And that was
Mhm.
good. That was a good experience.
It was.
Baby, baby. Yeah.
And I never, at that time, I had never gone to a concert. So 3D movies really felt like an actual concert experience for me. I remember watching that movie and being like, wow, this is so cool. Like seeing someone become famous from YouTube. Like he was one of the like first people to like really
Right.
make it off of YouTube. It was so fascinating.
And people don't realize that that's where Usher saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were expecting Usher to bring him out during the Super Bowl. I was personally, because I knew that he was an understudy of his, but
Mhm.
he's dealing with a lot right now, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't
So
expect him for that. Yeah, for that exact reason.
you said your family are Liberian,
Hmm.
and you're the first one born here from your family,
Yeah, my generation.
or first of your generation.
Hmm.
Now, do you see like a connection between the Liberian culture and the Caribbean cultures. We know that a lot of the people in the Caribbean islands came from places like North Africa, West Africa, a lot of those places that are now in the islands, the US. So do you see a direct connection? Like,
Yes, definitely. Diaspora is very strong. Like sometimes when I talk about the names of different fruits with like my Jamaican friends, we're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys do that too?" Or like the type of like breakfast we'll eat, or like the different vegetables or provisions like cassava slash yuca. Like there's a lot of like similarities in our diets. There's a lot of similarities in our lifestyle and like just how our parents like raise us to be. Like the diaspora is very strong for sure. Even down to like this one word, like so in Liberia, we'll say Pekin, right? In Jamaica, they say picnic, and it all means
the
the
same
same
thing.
thing. Yeah, it like a small child or like a young person. It's the same thing.
Considering we all really truly derive from Africa, it's great that a lot of those cultural things were able to continue as they went through the islands and
Mhm,
made their way here to the States.
mhm.
And you also mentioned like you're creative. What do you do as a creative?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I developed a passion for being behind the camera. Like it was literally on accident. I had an iPad and I downloaded this app called Video Star, and me and my best friend would make like music videos on it. And then one day I accidentally downloaded iMovie, and then I saw that they had like a trailer template. So I was like, you know what? At lunchtime, I'm gonna take my iPad to school and me and my friends are gonna make trailers. So we would do it and I wouldn't be in it. Purposely, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna direct you guys and I'm gonna tell you what to do. And it was so fun directing them and telling them what to do and creating like just magic at the end of our lunch period. We would do this all in like 45 minutes. And we had a school news and I saw that on iMovie they had a news template. And so I think it was either like the spring of like 2014 or like right before like the semester was or the school year was gonna end. I reached out to my principal. I was like, I want to take over the school news. No one pays attention to it right now. I want to take over it. I want to produce it. I want to shoot it and edit it and get more people interested in the school news. And it ended up working out. And by the next year, by 2015, I was applying for colleges and I was like, I don't know what I want to go to college for. And
Mhm.
then I really thought about it. I was like, wait, you can go to college for film.
Film.
It makes sense. Go to college for film. You like creating behind the camera. Let's turn this into an actual thing. And so that's where my passion for filmmaking came. And then by 2017, I got my first camera and my dad was like, you need to also learn photography. You can't just have a camera and not learn how to do photography. You gotta do both. You gotta learn how to do both. And then I taught myself how to do photography through YouTube and like just meeting other photographers and stuff. And then I just became like a visual storyteller. And then fast forward to like 2021, that's when I graduated from college. I was like, okay, um, I applied for a fellowship and I got an opportunity to work at an advertising agency as an art director, and that fellowship turned into a full-time job. So I would say I'm a art director, filmmaker, and I'm a photographer. And yeah, so right now I'm doing that freelance until I can find something full-time.
And you're only 25 years old
Yeah.
and you're taking on and over the world.
Mm.
Seriously, like I jotted down, I'm just gonna give you like I was jotting down some notes, things, and I was like, wow, what isn't she doing?
Mhm.
Um, hopefully being able to do all these things, you're also able to take some time out and just reflect on the accomplishments you've had at such a young age,
Thank you.
being and I'm pretty sure your family notices it. They notice that you have drive, and if you have any younger siblings, cousins, whoever, I'm pretty sure they truly admire the fact that they have a young Ava DuVernay right there in the flesh. Because when it comes to even when it comes to just the arts, we don't see often people that look like us and the representation, because it truly matters as we get on our own journeys and paths in life. Being able to see someone like you do these things tells little girls and little boys that me too,
Mm,
I will accomplish and reach and conquer those goals and dreams that are in reach. I don't know if, like, growing up, if you had that role model that you looked at in this realm of arts, and
mhm,
you were able to look at them and say, yeah, they're doing it. I can equally do it.
mhm. I would say, like, I didn't really see Black women doing what I'm doing now, so I had to create that for myself. Like, I did grow up in a creative environment, like, where my talents were always supported. Like, my first passion was dance. That's why I went to that high school that I went to in Times Square. I loved dancing since I was small, and as soon as, like, my parents saw that I loved dancing and I had no problem dancing in front of people, I didn't care where I was. They're like, "Okay, you're gonna go to dance class." Like, immediately. I loved poetry as a child. My dad bought me a journal. It's like, okay, you're gonna start writing. Like, everything I said that I liked and that I showed it, expressed some interest in,
Hmm.
it was always supported without a doubt. Like, there was never a time that either of my parents forced me to do anything that wasn't creative. Like, they were always down to support my creative career. Like, anytime that I have a shoe and I'm really proud of it, and I show my mom is like, "We're going to Hollywood." That's exactly what she says every single time. "We're going to Hollywood. We're going to Hollywood." So, I would say, like, my parents' support inspired me to do what I'm doing now.
Right. And to some people that see you even near and afar, you are Hollywood.
Thank
Like,
you.
last week, I had the opportunity to record with someone in the community. I don't know if you know Antoine Gibson. He's a
Mm,
saxophonist from Atlanta, and
mhm,
he was telling me how growing up in Atlanta, he always had the opportunity to be involved in the arts.
mhm,
And he's done over he has multiple solo albums, group albums he's done, and he's been in like 22 or 23 films, such
yeah,
as Coming to America 2, Drumline 2. Like, and he says, like, he's been given these opportunities just from being in Atlanta, being someone that's in the arts, and
mhm,
people see him and, like, they contact him like, "You want to be in this?" He's like, he never studied acting a day in his life, but he's like, "Sure, why not?"
yeah,
So when young people are giving the opportunity, and also parents, um, people that we look up to show that interest in the child, and they continue to push them as the child drives towards being the best that they can be at whatever they want to be. It tr- like the young people truly feel that, and they understand, like, my parent may have not had everything, but part of the American dream is to see your children do better or live better than you did. And
exactly.
I'm pretty sure to your family, they see that. So any opportunity that was given for you to do the things that you like, you love, you're interested in, they were like, sure, why not?
Mhm.
What kind of dance did you grow up doing?
Ballet, African dance, jazz. When I got to high school, it was mainly like jazz and like musical theater.
Did you ever have dreams of going to prestigious places like Juilliard?
No, it was like, I don't know. I think once I got to high school and I started doing a musical theater consistently, I realized that it wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. Like, I was passionate about being on stage, but something just switched in me in 2014 when I picked up my iPad, and I realized that, no, I want to be behind the camera. I don't know what it was, but like, I just had this like feeling of freedom and peace just being behind the camera.
Just being behind the camera. That's why I jotted down, like, you being an art director. That told me directly that you love being behind the scenes and making things happen. because to be an
Mhm.
art director, I don't know of what kind of organization or center or whatever it is, but I know having worked in that role in my lifetime that it does take a lot of like the logistics, the handling, the every getting placing everything in order so that what what is seen through the eye, like people see is like this amazing end result and project. But
Mhm.
being the director, I'm pretty sure that through the entire process, like you're achieving goals.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. What type of film do you do?
So I've worked on a few. I think I worked on like maybe one or two documentaries, but I really focus on like short films, mainly like short films that are inspired by the hyphenatedness of being Liberian American.
Mhm.
So a lot of my stories are inspired by like culturally related things. Like I did a story. I mean, I created a film in 2021 about my mom's experience during the Civil War in Liberia, and then immigrating to Sierra Leone. I what else have I worked on? Oh yeah, my thesis was also about like it was a coming of age about a young girl and just tying it back into like womanhood in Liberian culture. So a lot of the stories that I create or a lot of the stories that inspire me are always reflecting those pieces of my cultural identity.
Are many of those stories are they still available? Like, can they
Yeah.
be viewed
Yes, they can be viewed on my website, by Tenneh.com.
by Tenneh.com? I'll make sure I include that in the show notes
Thank you.
because part of the process of this podcast is not only us talking about our lived experience with chronic health conditions, but also giving a platform so that we as a people can truly express who we are, and a part of that is expressing what we do in life. Like
Mhm.
if you have anything that needs to be promoted, I will continue to promote it as much as you want,
Thank
because I mean I treat us all like we're family,
Mhm.
and it's the equivalent of you grew up in a city, you had neighbors that may have needed things, a cup of sugar.
Mhm.
This is my cup of sugar.
Mhm.
So
Thank you.
I'm gifting that to community. Tell me a little bit more about your family because I've heard it mentioned at least 5 times already.
Mhm.
Um, have you been to Liberia?
Yes, I've been to Liberia. I went to Liberia for the first time in 2022. The reason why I went later on in my life is because when I was younger, Liberia was experiencing a civil war. Um, they had two different civil wars, one in the 90s that caused my mom to come to America, and then another one in the early 2000s. And obviously, I was a child in the early 2000s, so it just wasn't the best infrastructure for me to fly into. So I didn't go, yeah, till 2020 and I'm 2022, and it was delayed but not denied, but it was the greatest experience ever. I ended up going twice that year. Um, it was like my homecoming.
Coming.
Yeah, like my homecoming celebration. That's how it felt. And I felt like it was so important at that point in my life for me to just reconnect with my roots even further because prior at the top of that year, my father had passed away. So returning back or like, yeah, returning back, even though like I wasn't born there, it felt like I was coming back.
You were.
Yeah, so returning back there just felt right in that moment, and I went with my mom. It was an amazing experience just meeting everyone that I've always heard about and seen pictures. It was so but it was also so strange and overwhelming to an extent because you are meeting like 30 cousins in one day and it's like, "Oh, I'm your cousin. I'm your
Mm,
cousin. I'm your cousin." And you're like, "You're my cousin, but you're also a stranger." So in that sense it felt weird, but it also felt very familiar and it was easy for me to feel comfortable. Also felt really great going to the village where my mom grew up in Cape Mount. That's like northern Liberia near Sierra Leone. That was amazing to experience. It also felt great eating Liberian food there versus eating Liberian food in America. It tastes way better over there. And just like dispelling a lot of myths that a lot of people put on Liberia who haven't been there in so many years. Like when you see for yourself, it's like everything you guys are saying is like, I'm not saying it's not true, but like it may have been true 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but it's not true for 2022 or
Right. You
2023.
can live a normal life.
Yeah. So
Everything isn't your everything isn't dictated.
yes. And another thing that I appreciated about being there was just like not having to tell people how to say my name. That was like it was very small, but very powerful thing that I appreciate. That was like my biggest highlight was going there and just have like my name is very common in Liberia, as compared to in America. So like there were so many places that I would go and like in my head I'm like, oh, I gotta tell people how to pronounce my name, but then I had people correcting me how to pronounce my name, being like, "Oh, you've been in America for too long, you can't even pronounce your name," you
Right.
know. But it
Mhm.
was just that comfortability that I just can't get in New York, and just seeing. Well, let me not even say New York, America as a whole, just seeing beautiful Black people every day, and then coming back to that, that was also something that was very jarring for me. But I'm looking forward to going back again.
Well, I feel your smiles. I
Mhm.
see them, but I feel them because the way you're telling this story of your coming home, you're coming like you even probably just touching the earth, smelling the air, the aroma, um, feeling the earth in general
Mhm.
probably brought a part of a presence in you, something that you didn't even know was there. You didn't know you were missing this link to life until you actually showed face and stepped there in the land and was like, I'm home. Like I've never been to Africa. I have some real strong like African roots from my father's side, but I've never been. But my best friend, he goes to Sierra Leone like twice a year, and he always is like, "Come on!" And I'm like, "One of these days I'll go."
Mhm.
But just how you just stated how the is for you on the two trips you've been is like basically telling me, "Will, get your stuff together. It's time to go."
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going to plan that trip. Thanks to you. So you did mention that you were able to go when you went there, like it was a part of connecting with your father. And I heard a lot about how your father was a big part of the reason that you've done or you did the things that you did. That
Mhm.
was like, you got to get it, you got the camera, you're shooting film, you got to learn how to take stills. Like, I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your father.
Mhm.
I know that he is smiling because you are shining. Like seriously,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Me being a father myself and actually interviewed my father on his podcast, and he's told me that his number one like dream in life was to see me achieve. That's all he really wanted was to see me happy and smile. And I told him how I never ever saw like the issues that were occurring at home, none of those things. And he was like, you weren't supposed to. He's like, we just made sure that you had the best living situation growing up.
Mhm.
I did want to ask you about family history beyond just Liberia. Do you have any family history of chronic health conditions?
Not really. I mean, yes, asthma, like I know on my dad's side, asthma was a thing, and high blood pressure. But like while my dad was alive, like he was the only one I knew who had high blood pressure, but that was when I was younger. He treated a lot of it like naturally with like supplements and stuff like that. And the whole lifestyle change, like to get his pressure in a great state. I know that he used to like run the entire Prospect Park and stuff like that. Like that's how much he was big on like physical wellness and just taking care of his body after that diagnosis. I know that some family in Liberia, distant family, had diabetes, but as like mom and like her siblings, not really. But I do know some people on her side had type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, I have found that to find another person in your family with type 1 diabetes, especially with people who have family that are not here in the States, it's very hard to identify what type of diabetes they had because
Mhm.
to most of the world, it's known as just diabetes. Either you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even in my own family, I didn't know I had a family of a history of type 1 diabetes until many years, probably, I was probably 15 to 16 years into my diagnosis before I found out that I had multiple family members with type 1.
Wow. I only know of one. It's crazy. My cousin, she was diagnosed ironically like a few months after me, and we're the same age. So it's so crazy how we both ended up having it. So like sometimes I think it probably runs deep on my dad's side. Um, but other than her, there's no one I know who has type 1. I know they have like genetic testing to
Mhm.
figure that out, but as far as my mom's side, like my family Liberia, pretty much most people, well, all the people I know who had type diabetes have type 2 diabetes.
Right. So if you go on trialnet.org,
Mhm.
your family, you if since you have a family history of type 1 diabetes, there's a screening process and you can actually get screened for free. And even persons who already have type 1 diabetes, if you want to know like what auto antibodies you have,
Oh,
you can uh they will let you know that as well.
TrialNet. I'll
Yeah,
definitely.
trialnet.org. So
Oh,
I didn't know what auto antibodies I had. All I
mm,
knew is when I left the hospital now it'll be 21 years March 10th.
mm,
Wow. Um I just know someone told me that I had diabetes, told my dad that I had diabetes and whatnot. So
mm.
I didn't know that there was this auto antibody testing until many years later.
I think when I got diagnosed, I remember that obviously I was doing so many like blood works and stuff, and I still have all the like papers to this day from the hospital. I remember them showing me something and being like, well, you have this amount of beta cells left and this percentage of insulin left in insulin producing cells. You have
Mhm.
about, I think they told me I had about like 20% at that time when I spoke to the endocrinologist. I'm not sure if that
Right.
really all our bodies.
That probably means that you were going through a honeymoon process for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that
I
was
think
only
I
5 years ago, right?
yeah, I had the honeymoon process for I would say like about 6 months, 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, so if you had that 20% then, I'm pretty sure after that 6 or 7 months, it was down to barely anything.
Yeah, it's but this is also a crazy thing. Sometimes I have days where I don't have to not I won't say don't have to take insulin, but like if I don't bolus, my sugar stays stable and it scares me. I don't get it. I've spoken to my doctor about it, and it's crazy how the body just switches up on you.
Right,
Even if I'm not doing any like physical exercise or anything, it can just switch up on me and be like, actually, we're gonna just bring your sugar down because we can.
right. Like the sugar fairy is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different hormonal fluctuations also that can impede like on the pancreas and tell it like you don't need this amount of insulin.
Mhm.
Like so there's so many different things. I've talked to people who've actually not bolused for weeks, just taking basil and watched as their blood sugars stay flat until one day that spike does occur and
Mhm.
then they have to give it, and then it keeps on reoccurring.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that honeymoon process is like regenerating again.
Yeah. For me, it happens like once a week. I mean, like
Mhm.
1 week out of the month, or like I would let me not say even a week. It's like maybe like 2 to 3 days out of the month that always happens to me.
Now, do you feel as though is that like more so during like Like your menstruation period?
Usually like the week after it that I've gotten it, I've started to like keep track of the pattern, and that's usually the time it happens.
Hmm.
It actually happened very recently, but like so I was actually saving this story. I was like, I have to tell this story. So I had to use my glucagon for the first time. I've never had to use it in my 5 years until last week
Used it
because
on yourself?
my mom used it on me.
Okay.
And it was because of this, like this random occurrence, like that just happened to have happened. But it was like it wasn't it so I have kept track on the pattern of when it's supposed to happen. And this month it just didn't come after my periods, which just didn't make sense. And that day my sugar wasn't like super low or anything like that. Like it was like a regular day with a lot of spikes and stuff.
Hmm.
And I know I usually get low at night. That's like I get really low at night. Like I sleep through my Dexcom alarm sometimes. It's really bad. I've changed my sounds several times, but something about me sometimes, like if I'm really tired, I'm just gonna ignore it. It can be lasting in my ear. I'm just gonna sleep through it. And it was one of those cases where I slept through it and I woke up at 40. And I didn't wake up because of the alarm. I woke up on my own. Like naturally, I just got up out my sleep and I checked my phone and it was like, oh, your sugars is like, I think it said 59 and dropping, or it said 40, and then the arrow was like like pointing downwards. I was like, okay, let me go check it. Like it didn't freak me out or anything like that. And then when I manually checked it, it was like 37. I was like, oh, okay, I've been in my 30s before, so nothing too scary. Last time I was in my 30s was when I had COVID for the first time. And I took like, I think I had like two juice boxes on my table. I drank the juice boxes. And then, well, actually, no, I didn't drink the juice boxes. I went straight to my kitchen to take a tablespoon of honey because
Hmm.
honey actually works faster for me than the juice
Right.
box. Yeah. And then 5 minutes later, I get another alert, but now it's like just low, and then the arrow is just pointing down. Then I checked how much insulin I had on board, and I had 2 units. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
So then I was like, let me just check again. I checked again, and within 5 minutes, my sugar went from 37 to 27. I was like, oh my God. And had a panic attack. I started crying because I've always heard about people's experiences with glucagon. Like every time I met someone who had type 1, I immediately was like, have you ever used glucagon?
Mhm.
What is it like? It was just like a mystery to me of with that experience. So I didn't know what to expect. And I thankfully had recently gotten a new glucagon that my doctor prescribed for me. So it wasn't the one in the box. It's a new one that I don't know if are you familiar with the new one?
Gvoke hypopen.
Yes, that one. Yeah, I literally just got it like 3 months ago.
And I have to thank the Juicebox podcast for telling me about Gvoke hypopen. That's where I know that from.
Okay, yeah. So, and I always taught people, my closest friends, how to use the like original glucagon, and it was always very complicated to me. I would always think to
That's the one
myself
you
like,
have to mix, right?
yeah, this is a lot to tell someone who doesn't even use needles how to use. But thankfully, yeah, this was very simple. My mom is also a nurse. She's never used the Gvoke hypopen. She's only used the actual glucagon on her patients. So like she in that moment is like trying to figure out how to use it. I'm like, it's so simple. All you gotta do is pull the tab, just pull the tab.
It's like an EpiPen.
Literally. And when she injected me with it, I was so scared of the pain because I'm like, what if this needle is so thick? Like, I didn't know what to expect. I'm just like crying, terrified of what's about to happen. And then, like, I remember the taste in my mouth of the glucagon. And I was just like, I felt very weird. I felt so heavy.
Nauseous.
Yeah, I was just stuck to the couch, just like this, laying down, just terrified of like I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know if I was gonna throw up, like I saw on the thing. Like I just didn't know what to anticipate. But like after it was all over. All I could do was like thank God and be like, like thank God I woke up when I did. And it wasn't because of the Dexcom. I just naturally woke up on my own. It was as if someone like an angel whispered in my ear and was like, get up now.
As I call them, the diabetes gods. Sometimes they pop up when we least expect them.
Literally. And I in that moment I was just like, thank God that
Mhm.
my doctor also changed the pen. Changed my prescription to this. Like it was just perfect timing. And that experience in the last week has like made me be even more on top of my diabetes. And even though like I know I perfectly prepared the best way I can to avoid that low, like in that at night I had a snack, I had a fig bar before I went to sleep. I got really high from the fig bar. I took 3 units. My sugar was like I think it went up to 265 from the fig bar. I didn't bolus for it because I knew I was going to go to sleep and my pump is automatically, correcting me. And I was like, okay, let's just give myself 3 units, even lower than what the pump actually recommended for me to correct. And I thought those 3 units would have kept me, stable. And in that, I just, when I look back at the situation, I'm like, what if I actually gave myself the full like 6 that it wanted me to take to correct that? Like it would have been an even worse situation. But situations like that kind of spike my anxiety with diabetes.
Mhm.
That's like the one thing that I've been trying to work through in these last 5 years is like the anxiety around sleeping through lows.
Yeah, anxiety goes hand in hand with living with diabetes. Seriously, I don't think there's one person I've spoken to that doesn't have high anxiety, whether it's from severe lows or hyperglycemia, stubbornness. We all experience it, and I'm glad that you were able to um notice when you woke up, like your body would while you were having an out of body experience, and your mom was actually there to be able to administer the Gvoke hypopen. Did you actually tell your mom, or she just knew?
Oh yeah, I told her because she was in the kitchen and I didn't tell her what my numbers were at first because I'd never like her to panic because
Mhm.
my mom doesn't physically panic, but she knows I do go low. Like that's the one thing that she's always like she knows that I go low often. But I just didn't want to tell her the number. I was like, oh, I'm like 40 something, but I was taking the honey and I was like, okay, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. But then when I saw 27, I was like, I have to tell her. Like she's literally getting ready to go to work. I have to tell her what's going on. And she wasn't showing me that she was nervous, but I know she was scared.
Right. Because anything below 30, um, you can expect to have a seizure come about.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's the natural reaction.
Yeah.
And I hope that well, it's always a lesson learned, but the fears of insulin are real, and the fears of going low are real. I just hope that through this lived experience, I mean, you're able to live another day, and also, I mean, you learn more. So, on that night, I don't know what night that was, if you jotted it down, because how you were stating that sometimes you go low during the evening, and also you may have a week where you don't need as much insulin. So just jot down that actual day, that time of day. So then you will know moving forward. So say if it was on a Thursday at 11 p.m., the following Thursday at 11 p.m., if I am to do the same routine with the fig bar and the insulin, expect to drop low.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the way diabetes shows up, you always expect the unexpected because you may go high next
Mhm.
time, right? There's no one way fits all type with diabetes. It always changes. There's an altering in it nonstop. Like no two type ones are the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's very yeah, it's very challenging. I would say one thing that I have had the stubborn highs, but it's mainly like when I'm sick. Like recently I was in the hospital or emergency room like two times in the last 3 months for like really bad highs from being sick. Um, didn't have a proper diagnosis on what I was sick with because it wasn't COVID or it wasn't the flu or
They didn't. You weren't in
yeah,
DKA.
no, I wasn't in DK. Ironically enough, they thought I was, but because my insulin was still working, it's just my sugar was just going down really slow. So, thankfully, I wasn't. But there was actually someone who was next to me who actually was when I was in the
Mm.
hospital. I think he had, I believe he had type 2 diabetes, and I heard him throwing up the entire time. It was so irritating. And like, yeah, it was a whole thing. But thankfully, I haven't experienced DKA before.
I equally haven't experienced DKA. I have experienced the nighttime, the severe lows, the anxiety again that come with that. Like I've woken up with emergency people next to my side previously, like a few times, and it's been a while. It's been a good maybe 5 years since something like that have occurred, but I remember those days and me fearing going to sleep. But today with the advancement in technology, even though, like you said, Dexcom, no matter what we put it on, it does not wake me up either. Even Sugarmate, I use Sugarmate. I don't know if you know about Sugarmate. It's a third-party app
No, I
that
haven't.
you can connect through your phone or your watch, and it actually tells you like how much your blood sugar is going up. I don't know if you like it,
Mhm.
like you see that +2. You
Yeah.
see it? Like it tells you how much it actually went up or how much it's going down, like how
Oh,
many milligrams per deciliter.
I'm gonna
So,
check that out.
yeah, you can find it in the App Store.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out because I mean my new sound on Dexcom actually works for me. Like last night I went low in my sleep, like 61, not too bad, but that sound worked. It woke me up. It woke
Mhm.
me up.
Mhm.
Like it was a very I chose the most unusual sound ever. It sounds like a alien or something. I don't know, but it wakes me up out of my sleep for now.
Yeah, the sound that gets me is the baby crying.
Oh, I used to have the baby
Look,
crying.
but it
I
was so
used to,
annoying that I'm like,
yes.
no, yeah. Mm-mm. Do
Oh,
you?
the sonar horn. That's what it's called.
Uh, yeah, I know that sound.
Yeah,
That
it
used to be my favorite.
it works.
Yeah, so with Sugarmate, if you drop low, it'll actually call your phone. Like there's a number, I want to say it's out of like Illinois or whatever, and it'll call your phone like nonstop until you wake up and answer it.
Wow.
Yeah, it can get annoying also.
And this is sorry, you had cut off before. This is in Sugarmate or
Yes, this is Sugarmate. I said,
okay.
yeah,
I'm
it
gonna
can get annoying also, but it's a
I'm
need.
gonna I'm gonna do that because um like for me, like after I had my diagnosis, my fear was just like sleeping alone, like sleeping in a house with no one being there. Like there were times when my mom would like travel and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay up really late until I can't stay up anymore because I had this fear of going low with no one, being
Right.
in the house with me. So I think that that would be something that would be very beneficial for me until like eventually long term I would love to get a diabetic alert dog. I was actually talking to my sister about that after the situation, and she's like, I think you really do need one because this it seems very scary.
You want a diabetic alert dog? King, come here. Come here, puppy. King up. Easy.
Oh, beautiful.
He's my good boy.
So beautiful.
So I actually we rescued King. He was 12 weeks old when we adopted him, and the intent was for him to be a diabetic alert dog, nothing else. And
Mhm,
that was in 2019. If you remember, I said that I haven't had any EMTs
mhm.
at my door having to resuscitate me or anything in 5 years
Wow.
because
Wow.
this guy, yeah, he's absolute best.
I would love
So
to hear about that process because that's something that, I would be interested in. This is so cool.
so
And
the process that I went through is so I rescued him with the intent on training him, self-training him. There's a
okay.
program called MD Dogs,
Okay.
and it's a diabetic alert dog training program.
Mhm,
It's free of charge, no cost. There's like a 200 plus page book that tells you the step-by-step process, and it comes with videos also. So
mhm.
there's a YouTube channel and it teaches you everything, the process. of having your dog become a diabetic alert dog. Here in the US, there's no federal regulations where your dog has to be registered as a service dog.
Okay.
It's been pretty good, pretty amazing. Because of my pup. He's the absolute best.
I'm gonna look into that for sure. That's awesome.
Yep. So if you ever want those resources, just let me know and I'll share them with you. I'm pretty sure I have them in my Instagram bio. That's where I usually keep all of my resources.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Just know when you do have the diabetic alert dog, they don't want you to have any freedom.
Mm,
So even if that means you have company over, just know your dog's going to be right there.
hmm
No matter what, whether the doors are open or shut, he's going to be right there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, he's really like the best thing as far as diabetes management that and Dexcom that I've experienced.
hmm Do you ever like let your dog like take time off like through the night or like
Uh,
is the dog constantly working?
he he's constantly working.
Okay.
Sometimes he takes time off,
Okay.
but like he knows when I can manage it.
Okay.
So he'll just give me a little alert, whether
Mm,
he's pawing at me. When he knows when I'm not doing something, he's all in my face, like licking me and whining. He has this whine that will not stop until he knows, like, man, you've been asleep for 4 hours with that low blood sugar.
oh
Or
wow.
if or if my blood sugar is like rising drastically, like he has this a similar whine.
hmm
Yeah, so yeah, he's the best. Like even at times when Dexcom was off,
hmm
and I'm wondering like why isn't why is Dexcom saying I'm 43 or whatever, but King's not alerting me?
hmm
Dexcom was off, whether it was a compression low or just something off with the readings.
hmm
And yep. So I do heavily rely on him.
Okay, cool.
Growing up, did you want to be a photographer or someone in film as a I don't know, a videographer, cinematographer, director?
Besides, separate from that time I told you in high school, it was never anything that I thought of because in when I before high school, I just knew I was gonna be on the stage. Like I just loved the attention. I loved being the center of attention. I loved performing. I loved that freedom to just be whoever I wanted behind the camera and just tell those physical stories on stage. So I never had that feeling of, oh, I want to be behind the I want to be, behind the camera. It really was that moment in high school that solidified it for me.
Yeah, because I did hear you state that you were at first in front of the camera, basically on stage, and now you want to be behind the camera. I hear that with a lot of people who are in the art industry.
Mhm.
Um, because if you spend a whole lifetime of creating or being a part of it, now you want to be the creative person of it
Yeah.
behind the scenes. But I know that at any given moment, probably if you needed to be the center of attention again, you could easily be that.
Mhm.
So, what's some good advice you've received as a person living with a chronic health condition?
Hmm. Some good advice I received. Mm.
Like it could be even minimum, like something you wouldn't even think of advice, but to someone out there in the free world, that could be advice. Like make sure you get a Dexcom. Don't go to sleep with insulin on board.
Oh, the advice that I would give? Well, the advice that I receive, I would say, is from my endocrinologist. It's just like diabetes is always gonna be highs and lows. Like something as simple as that has stuck with me because I feel like a lot of diabetics find themselves trying to be perfect
Perfect.
by that time they go to their next endocrinologist visit and try to make sure the A1C looks good for that visit. Like just trying to make sure they're on their P's and Q's for that moment. It's kind of like an inspection of the good work
Right.
or the bad work that you've been doing in the last 3 months. And I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm not like you shouldn't try to make your sugar levels look good just for the 3-month mark. You should try to aim for a healthier lifestyle altogether. And the advice that I would give to a type 1 diabetic who's listening to this, or anyone who's dealing with a chronic health condition, is like, numbers don't matter. Like, they really don't matter. It's so easy to get caught up in the numbers, whether you're looking at your blood sugar numbers, or you're looking at your cholesterol numbers, or you're looking at your high blood pressure numbers, or your weight and other things like that. Like, those things don't matter. It's all about how you take control over what you can control.
And we know that in this life we live, like, there are so many things at stake that we don't fully control. Our bodies, that's ours. We own that. So being as much control of it as you can. And also don't treat yourself as just an object such as the numbers, the highs and lows. Treat yourself well. You know, we do hold high expectations for ourselves, but also when we talk about chronic health conditions, we know that there are things that occur that we don't have full control over. So all of the small the successes that you have, celebrate them. Celebrate you. Make sure that you align yourself with a community that also celebrates you. Because in this thing called diabetes, often it it's followed with a lonesome. We feel as though we're the only ones that's truly dealing with it. But now that we do have this space, we know that it's more than just us.
Yeah.
I read through your notes a bit, and you mentioned diabetes burnout, and diabetes burnout is real. You're in year 5 living with diabetes. I often hear people compare, and like, I've been living with this for 50 years and you're complaining about this. That living with it for a day is a lot.
Yeah.
Living with it for a month, a year is too much. So on the day that the cure is here, what do you think you're going to do?
The day that the cure is here, I am going to take a long nap throughout the day without checking my phone. I'm gonna
I
That's
love
not
that.
another
I
thing,
love that.
because the anxiety that I get, like, I feel like since I've gotten diagnosed, I've had a strong attachment to my phone, and I would love to go outside without my phone one day and just feel okay. I would
Right.
love to go to a club without having a bag full of so much stuff. Like, it's very irritating. Like, as a woman, like, I want to be able to have those cute little purses, but I can't carry those cute little purses, and they don't hold all my diabetes stuff. So those are the two things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sleep all day without checking my phone, and go to a club or go out with like a really tiny little purse
Mhm.
that only fits my lip gloss just because I can.
People not living with a chronic health condition, I don't think they fully understand that the concept of how we have to manage this, not 24/7. It's nonstop.
Mhm.
Because when we think of people saying, I work 24/7, I'm always on the job. No, this is nonstop.
Mhm.
There's no end to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, being able to, like you said, carry like the least amount of things, the most minimal things out of the house with you, or being able to just carry nothing out of the house with you, knowing that once you reach your destination, you are going to equally be okay. So on that day that the cure is here, we're all going to celebrate. I might just book a flight to whereverville.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just go, just fly away. Eh,
Yeah. I have TSA pre-check and clear, and I never get to fully enjoy the luxuries of it because I always gotta wait for somebody to pat me down.
yep.
And so another thing that I would do is enjoy my TSA pre-check and my clear the right way.
Hmm.
Usually when I travel, obviously the longest part is just waiting for a female pat down. Like, that's always the longest part. Every time I go to the airport, like, I'm usually breezing through everything.
Mhm.
because of like the pre-check clear combo is really immaculate. Like best purchase I've ever made, but it's always that always takes the longest amount of time. It's just waiting for someone. But if I didn't have to wait that long for somebody, like I feel like my security experience would probably be a lot shorter, probably be like 5 minutes or less.
Right. Someone not living with diabetes would never take that into consideration. They would not think of just something as small as having a female being able to pat you down,
Yep.
because we know that worldwide, when it comes to certain jobs, such as even like security, it's predominantly male dominated. Yeah, being able to just share that we need more females in this field to be
Yeah.
able to assist people so that literally we can just be meeting on like an equitable line as far as when it comes to just screening to take a trip.
Hmm.
That just always makes me like takes me back into like thinking about other things, not knowing that women here today in modern society are not treated equitable. Not only are you a woman, you're a woman of color, you're a woman of African descent and background. Like there's so many things that should be highly promoted,
Hmm.
but instead you're receiving the opposite. You mentioned you had a cousin that was diagnosed months after you, same age.
Yes.
Is she in New York also?
No, she's in Georgia.
Do y'all communicate like regularly?
We don't come. We're not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we communicate regularly, but when we do communicate, it is like related to like our diabetes
Health.
and just up on our health and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same way it is with me and my cousin. That's a type one, first cousin.
Mhm.
And often I think that she may think that I have this diabetic intuition. Like when
Mhm.
she's dealing with something, I
Mhm.
often think that because she'll tell everyone else about it.
Mhm.
And like she might post about it somewhere in a story or something, and I see it, I'm like, "Oh, you're in a hospital?" And
No.
she's like, "Oh, I thought you knew I was in a hospital."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah, we do whatever we can to help our family.
Nothing.
Right. So do you know if she uses modern technology?
Yeah, I believe she uses a Freestyle Libre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where have you used the Libre in the past?
No, I've been on the Dexcom since I got diagnosed. I'm not too familiar with any of the other devices.
I see that you use a Omnipod. Is that an Omnipod 5 or Dash?
5.
Omnipod 5.
Mhm.
So that frightens me a bit that you use the 5 and at times you're going low to a point where it's not automatically adjusting, like
And
reducing.
and it's crazy because it does do that.
Right.
It just I guess what happened recently was just the hormones in my body. Because like, when I exercise, I always stop my insulin because I exercise a lot. I do a lot of running, and it doesn't give me insulin during that time, even like my why am I forgetting the name? Like, it doesn't give me insulin at all, like, during that time period. I usually, like, stay within, like I exercise at, like, 2 like, in the 200s because it always drops down regardless of me taking insulin or not. But, like, whenever my sugar is low, I never really have insulin on board from the automatic part of the pump. If I have insulin on board, it's from anything that I've given myself that's left over.
Do you typically run high like a few hours after you work out since you suspended your insulin?
Maybe for like it would I usually run high for maybe like 2 hours most after I suspend my insulin. It because while I'm exercising, it is dropping. Like, for example, yesterday, I think I started at like 240, and by the time I finished my exercise, I exercised for like 40 minutes to an hour. It was going down. It was like 180. And it wasn't going down it was going down steadily. And when I restarted my insulin, I think my sugar went down within like an hour. So I don't really stay too high for too long.
As we wrap up this conversation, I did want to get into some of your notes that you left behind. One of them was burnout, and the other one was being diagnosed at 20 years old. We did get a little bit into the burnout, but could you give me more about how burnout shows itself to you?
I would say for me, my burnout really came um during the pandemic. So like prior like, I got diagnosed in 2018. So like yeah, 2 years prior to the pandemic, I was like very consistent with taking care of my health. Like I ate all my meals exactly the same time. So any like I think I had breakfast around like 7:30, 8 o'clock. I always had a smoothie. I would always eat lunch around like 12, 1 o'clock, and during that time is when my sugar would drop. And then I would always have dinner around 6 o'clock, and during that time my sugar would drop. Like it was the same routine every single day for like 2.5 years. And then when,
And it was
the
memorized. Mhm.
yes, my body memorized it. And so when the pandemic happened, all of that came to a halt because I wasn't commuting to school every day. I mean, to campus every day. I wasn't getting up and eating the same things every day. It was a lot harder for my body to adjust to that. And that's I would say is when the burnout happened. Like the lack of consistency and just having to work a lot harder than I usually do to like achieve certain, target numbers and stuff like that really like pushed me into a burnout. And then I started working hybrid in my office at my last job, and I didn't have that much of a burnout because again I was eating and I was eating the same meals at not the same meals, but like I was eating at the same time every day with my meals and stuff like that. I was going to sleep at the same time for the most part every day. So that helped me a lot, that schedule and working around an environment. But right now, I would say I am working through a burnout since I'm not working full time anymore. So it is very hard to push through the burnout because going to office or going to school or classes every day and scheduling your meals around that makes dealing with your diabetes a lot easier. But when you're creating your own schedule yourself, it makes it a lot harder to like be like, all right, we're gonna wake up at 8:30 every day, and we're gonna have our smoothie every day, we're gonna make sure we have our lunch every day, we're gonna make sure we have our dinner every day, we're gonna make sure we take the insulin right away and not rely on the automatic pump to do it. It can be very challenging and very tedious. Like right now, my biggest thing that I'm dealing with my burnout is making sure I eat lunch. That's something that I struggle with. I always have my breakfast and I always have my dinner, but my lunch is something that I'm still working through, and it may not affect me in that moment, but it'll always affect me in the middle of the night when my sugar just randomly goes low because I didn't have 3 meals for the
Mhm.
day. So, yeah, burnout it's the worst, but I'm working through
And you mentioned everything that I think of when I think about burnout, but it does start primarily with change in routine.
it. Mhm.
We spoke earlier about it doesn't matter if you were been diagnosed for 1 year or 50 years, but people who I do know who have been diagnosed for many years, like older people who've been diagnosed for 40, 50 years, they said that one of the ways like growing up, they didn't really think about diabetes is because they followed a routine or a regimen that was like almost like military style, where
Mhm.
this is what they did at these times, and they didn't deal with things such as burnout. Now, today, knowing that we have all of the technology with all of the mathematical equations and formulas that we never wished for, the
Mhm.
micro being able to micro dose and micromanage, that too plays a heavy toll on our mental, just even seeing the numbers in front of us. But at the same time, we wouldn't take that back for anything, because those numbers that we have at hand truly do show us the that we have the ability to reach the greater outcomes and what we call the longevity that is life.
Mhm.
I've always wondered if we should have like a group session, a group burnout session, like it's a therapy session, almost like a workout session. You know, you get
Mhm.
up in the morning, you work out. So if we
Yeah.
were to get up and in the morning, or if we do it in the evening after a long day, and we're like wrapping up everything that occurred throughout our day, that's when usually the burnout you start to thinking about it. Like
Mhm.
all of these things were all of these darts were thrown at me and I wasn't able to dodge any of them. And they're still attached to me. So at the end of the day, if as a group we could come together and we could have that, not only that big kumbaya woosah moment, but also just to express fully like burnout is hell,
Mhm.
and let's figure out a way to work out, like to work through it together, even if
Yeah.
that means as a group we need like we're having like a workout session or whatever, just something that will
Push
help.
and keep you
Yes,
going.
help us push through, keep like accountability, clear our mental space. And we know that if we have people that are going through the same challenges that we may go through, such as burnout, that we can also in that space be unapologetically ourselves.
Mhm.
Like we can work out and we can throw things. We can break things, we can journal, all
Mhm.
types of things together. So yeah, that's something I'm going to write down and keep a note of for
Mhm.
future reference.
That sounds good.
Now, you and I have something similar, something in common. Every guest I've come across, besides diabetes, we have something in common. And our commonality is being diagnosed at 20 years old.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool. Because
Yes,
I've I have never really seen anyone who got diagnosed older. So this is cool that we both got diagnosed at the same age.
yes. We, for the most part, we were on a path or a journey in life. Upon diagnosis, we knew that there was nothing that was going to alter the path that we were on.
Mhm.
Being young adults, there was something that was brought about that altered that, and it will continue to alter it for the remainder of our time with this disease,
Mhm.
with this chronic health condition. Um, and I know that for myself, like it truly did affect me, especially in those first 5 years. I mean, you're in your first 5 years. It truly did affect me, and I didn't really realize it until I started like having like different relationships and stuff, how it was truly affecting me. And one thing I can and I will say to you is that being diagnosed at the age that you were diagnosed, one great positive is the access to the modern insulins, the access to the technology, being able to grow up in an age where technology is changing at a fast, alarming uh, pace to where hopefully in the near future, we won't have to be so much hands on when as it comes to diabetes. And it can be really like almost like we don't have it.
Yeah.
Being diagnosed at 20 years old, I mean, you're out of high school, you may have been in college, may have been working an internship, doing certain things. Like I know I'm not going to ask you how it affected you. I know that it affected you, and you're still young. You're 25 now, so I know that it still affects you. Were you expecting? This is what I'm going to ask you. Were you expecting this big change to have occur to occur?
No, you know, I I was not expecting anything like this to happen. Like I knew of type 1 diabetes, but not in detail. I knew that young people could get it, but again, not in details. I know I was working at a summer camp in 2016 when I was 18, and one of the kids, he had diabetes, and I remember my supervisor giving him his insulin when he needed it, but I didn't really understand to an extent like how challenging that is. And like I looking back now, I remember there was a time where his sugar was low, and just like the energy that she put towards treating that low, like I didn't understand the extent or the gravity that life was with, this, chronic condition, until I obviously experienced it myself.
And how much did it actually change you on?
Um, it it felt, I would say, like it felt like in that moment it kind of felt like my life was ruined. I'll be real with you, because I had came out of a very dark period in my life where I felt depressed, and that that summer, right before that summer that I did get diagnosed, like everything in my life was going so smooth. Like I felt like, wow, like life is good. I was done with my associates and finally being able to pursue like my film career and have classes that are related to filmmaking and stuff. Like if it actually felt like, wow, now I'm out of the dark and now I'm going into, my peaceful era. Like that's how it was feeling. Like it's finally time for me to reap what I sowed. And I literally got diagnosed like the first week of my first week of the fall semester at my college that I ended up graduating from, Brooklyn College. So it just felt like, damn, like I remember in that moment, I was like, damn, I can't catch a break. Like really? Like that's literally how I felt. Like I can't catch a break. Like it just felt so overwhelming. I remember I went through a lot of in denial. My dad was very in denial. Like my dad, I felt like it affected him more than it affected me. Like I couldn't even like talk about my insulin around him because he just could not believe that he wasn't educated on type 1 diabetes, and he just couldn't believe that a 20-year-old my 20-year-old child has to take insulin for the rest of her life or has to wear these devices. Like he couldn't understand it. I remember he bought me cinnamon sticks. It was like, chew this every day. Like, I don't want you taking this insulin. Like, just because the doctor say it, God has the final say. Like, he was just so adamant, like that there can be a cure. Like, he was like, you aren't gonna live like this for the rest of your life. As long as I'm alive, you're not living like this for the rest of your life. Like, there's no way. And it just made me it really did mentally affect me, because I was already going through it personally, and then having to hear that it prevented me from accepting it, because getting a diagnosis like that at 20 years old is kind of like you deal with a grieving process. You grieve your life before, you
Mhm.
grieve the lifestyle you had before, you grieve the things you did before. Like and obviously when you get diagnosed, they're not going to tell you all the ways that diabetes is going to affect your life. They're not going to tell you about exercising affecting your blood sugars. Like they're only going to tell you the basics. A lot of the things you're going to learn through, experience and stuff. And I'm very grateful that, I didn't go into DKA when I got diagnosed. I got diagnosed in what I would say the weirdest way possible. um, I've never had a yeast infection my entire life, and that summer, I just ran like, literally the week before I was supposed to start school, I just randomly got a yeast infection, and then I started peeing a lot, more than usual, but I've had a UTI before, so I was like, "Oh, it's probably, a UTI," and, I was in Jersey at my cousin's house, and I was just, like, Googling. I was on WebMD, entering my symptoms. WebMD was like, "Yeah, you have diabetes."
Diabetes.
And I was like, "I'm only 20. This is not real."
There's no way. I'm
WebMD, yeah, exactly. WebMD
yeah.
is always over exaggerating things. So
There's no way I have what your auntie has.
and then I started thinking about everything that I ate, because I also knew that diabetes is a result of how you eat.
Right.
Well, in some cases with type 2. So I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that Danish, because my mom had recently bought Danishes from Costco that were so good. It had like a cranberry paste on the top of it, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have eaten this. I remember overthinking and then kept coming back to myself and being like, girl, it's just a yeast infection. And maybe yeast infections also make you pee a lot, because again, I didn't know. I've never experienced a yeast infection before. So I just treated it with over the counter medication. And then my intuition was like, after a week, I was still like peeing and stuff. I was like, okay, I think I should still go to the doctor though, just to make sure I treated the yeast infection right, because I was just associating the two together.
Mm-hmm.
And went to the doctor, and at that time I started going to the doctor by myself, so I didn't have to go to the doctor with my mom, and I was still seeing a pediatrician. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I have a yeast infection. And she's like, okay, yeah, I think you do have one. And I was like, and I'm peeing a lot. And she's like, are you thirsty or anything like that? Or like started actually
Mm-hmm.
asking if I had hyperglycemia symptoms. And I was like, no. She's like, okay, but I'm still gonna test you, do blood work, just because I want to make sure. Like, she was that kind of doctor that really like always went above and beyond for me. But like, or what some doctors would consider the bare minimum. That's what you're supposed to do. But that doctor is the reason why I got my diagnosis. And fast forward, like maybe a day or so later, I was in class and I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. I was in my screenwriting class, and I had like 8 or 10 missed calls from my doctor. And then she called me on her personal number, and I saw it. I'm like, why is my doctor calling me?
Calling me.
And then I saw a message from my mom saying, oh, your doctor called me. Please call me back ASAP. It's about your test results. And so as soon as I got out of class, I called her, and then she's like, yeah, your sugar is high. You need to go to the emergency room. Your doctor called me. And my mom was sounded very calm though. So I'm like, okay, now I can call my doctor back, And she's like, hi, yes, your sugar is really high and you need everything's gonna be okay though. Everything's gonna be okay. You need to go to the emergency room. I already called them, but everything's gonna be okay. She just kept reassuring me that I was gonna be fine. And it's crazy. The night before that diagnosis, I knew something was wrong though. Before they called me that night, I couldn't sleep because then I started getting thirsty. So that was the last symptom that came before
Mm-hmm.
I went to the hospital. I was so thirsty. It felt like I had like a desert in my throat. I'll never forget that feeling. And what did I drink? Fanta. I didn't drink water. I drank Fanta.
I drank cups of lemonade.
I drank Fanta because I was like, oh, I'm thirsty. Maybe soda's gonna cure my thirst. And I kept peeing like every like 10 minutes. I did not go to sleep.
Non-stop.
I kept peeing. I didn't know the soda was making it worse. And my mom, when she woke up in the morning, she was just like, something doesn't feel right, whatever. Back to the day I got diagnosed, I went to call my best friend to tell her, like, oh my gosh, like, this is what's happening. And she's like, I'm here for you. And I was like, what do you mean you're here for me? She's like, I'm physically here. My plan was to surprise you on campus because we didn't go to the same school. So I saw her, and she's Christian. So she immediately was like, we're going to pray about this and you're going to be fine. And then I saw my other friend from high school. We also went to the same college. When I told her what happened, she was just like, do they think you have diabetes? And I remember looking at her and being like, why
Like,
would
why
you
is that
say
the first thing
that?
you say?
Why would you say that? Like, I was just like, no, but like internally I felt attacked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you ever suggest that I have diabetes? And then my dad, I went to him and he took me to the emergency room, and he was so calm. He was just like not seeing it as like a big deal. And as soon as we arrived there, they were like, this is the onset diabetic. She needs to be seen stat. And I was like,
They
huh?
knew who you were.
I was like, onset diabetic. I'm like, why are these people calling me diabetic? And they didn't even test me for
Right.
nothing. I was like, these people are just quick to judge me. And then the doctor tested my blood sugar. I think my sugar was like 300 or something. And then the nurse he was also West African. He and my dad like loved that. Like whenever my dad would meet another West African, he would always feel more comfortable in the
Mm-hmm.
space. And he gave me insulin, and they were like, okay, we're gonna give her this amount of insulin, just talking in medical jargon, what at the time felt like medical jargon. And like it was a lot of waiting, and then finally a lot of doctors came in the room, and they were like, it's not a common case, but like your daughter has diabetes. We don't know which one yet, but it's more than likely type 1. But yeah, we're gonna keep her for a few days. That was like literally how they told me. And in that moment, I didn't realize my life had changed. I saw it as just like, oh, maybe this is just something that if I eat good, I'm gonna like work my way
Right.
through it.
Get
Like
rid
I
of it.
realized that day in 2018 was going to change the rest of my life. And even after the 5 days that I spent in the hospital, I still was like, this is not this is just
It's
I'm
temporary.
ill, but yeah, like I can't see how it's physically affecting me,
Right.
but I know that, oh, I'm gonna be fine. Like this is the last I'm gonna hear about diabetes. And it wasn't until I actually met with the endocrinologist, a pediatric endocrinologist after that, like maybe 2 weeks later, when she confirmed that it was type 1 and was like, okay, now this is what you're gonna do, and you're gonna do all of these things or whatever. That's when reality set in for me, and I remember crying in the car and being like, "What the hell? Like, why did you do this to me, God? Like, why are you I won't say punishing me, but like, why are you giving me this why me
Why did
basically?
you
Like,
give me diabetes?
why exactly? Why do I have to have diabetes, you know? Like I felt so ashamed, like because I and no one was telling me what caused it, and there was a lot of mystery behind that, obviously, to this day. And I just felt so like I didn't even know how to tell my friends. Like I didn't know how to tell my friends. I just felt so ashamed. I was like, wow, like I did this to myself. Beat myself a lot, beat myself up a lot about it. Um, Before I got my devices, I think I got my device like I'm 1 month into my diagnosis, but I probably spent like maybe 2 to 3 weeks with doing finger sticks and having to do my injections with my pens. But I would be so scared to check my blood sugar, like if I was out. Like I would go to the bathroom. Even looking back at it now, I'm like, why the fuck did I, dude, I'm so sorry for cursing, but like, why would I go in the bathroom to do that? Why was I so scared to give myself insulin? Because I was so ashamed of that. And now that I am 5 years in, I'm like, wow, I wouldn't do that. I don't care anymore. I'm giving myself insulin everywhere. I wear my devices proudly. Even when I got my devices, that was when the change, like I found confidence in my diabetes. Like
Mhm.
when I got my Dexcom, oh, I was so happy. I was like, oh, I have something to show off. Period. This is my badge of honor to show off. And then when I got my Omnipod, like I think like about 4 months after that, like I was just like, I don't care. I'm gonna wear outfits that purposely show off my devices. Like I loved the pride that it made me feel. And ultimately, obviously I got to where I am now, but it took a lot. It took me being patient with myself. It took me allowing myself to grieve my life before. But now, like if like would I go back to that lifestyle, I would probably eat differently, you know. But diabetes has given me a sense of responsibility that I appreciate and I'm very grateful for.
Yes, I hear it in every pitch, every tone.
Yeah.
Um, I hear it in your excitement. Because it started off like very like much filled with sorrow.
Hmm.
Like you were talking about how like your dad was like, no, you don't have diabetes. There's no way. You had a friend who was like, you got diabetes. And then when you get into the hospital, they're like, onset diabetes. Everyone was pushing diabetes on you. And while they were pushing it on you, you were trying to push it away.
Hmm.
But today we celebrate because today you know that you have diabetes. Diabetes doesn't have you.
Yeah.
Like these devices that I wear, that I rock, they're mine.
Hmm.
They make a part of my life a bit easier.
Yeah.
There's no burden placed on them, even
Yeah.
though the years before or months, whatever, before these devices, I may have looked at diabetes like basically like, get out my face. Like,
Hmm.
but today you recognize like, okay, diabetes is a friend to me. These
Exactly.
devices are a friend to me. So I understand like exactly being diagnosed at 20 years old with what you knew was ahead of you. Just know in the 5 years since your diagnosis, we filled up these papers on everything that you've done. Like seriously, you've you've made history
Thank you.
for yourself, for for your family in Liberia, like all over, for your father. You're living these dreams, these things that for many people they seem unattainable once they get the diagnosis of a chronic health condition. But
Mhm.
like I said, there's going to be families that listen to this. There's going to be little black boys, little black girls that see you, hear your story, and they're going to say, Mom, give me the devices. Because Tenneh said once she got those devices, basically her cape was put on and she was able to go out there and not only save the world, but save herself.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I thank you. I truly appreciate you for telling your story. And as we um close in on this, is there anything that you want the community to know, or any advice, anything you want to give or share to the community? Because this is just space. I'm promoting you.
Thank you. And thank you for creating this platform for people like us. Um, I guess what I would say is just grace. Like, simple, just grace. That's what you need to survive every day, is just grace. Like, you can do everything in your power to keep your sugar stable, low or high, or keep other parts of your body stable, because diabetes isn't just blood sugars, also has other effects on your body. But as long as you have grace, you're going to be good. As long as you have grace and you're patient with yourself, you're always going to be great.
Thank you. I appreciate you for joining me on the Chronically Well podcast, where we hold real conversations with the community that need to be heard.